Hello, this is the 53rd lecture on Revelation and World History. We have completed chapters 1 through 6 of Revelation and World History. We have completed the first half of the 12-chapter lecture and are now entering the second half. We have covered several crucial topics in the interpretation of the book of Revelation. We have discovered the true identity of the two beasts that appear in Revelation chapter 13, the seven-headed beast. And we have come to know who the beast with two horns like a lamb is, the one corresponding to 666. We also found a community of 144,000 people. We have also historically verified the relationship between Gog and Magog and Babylon. We are now examining another important topic, the Battle of Armageddon. In this lecture, we will explore Armageddon and the Korean War. Revelation and World History, Chapter 7, Section 5. The War of Armageddon and the Korean War. The War of Armageddon is a war in which many nations of the world attack one nation, Israel. World War II was a war initiated by Germany and Japan and fought across the globe. Therefore, it unfolded in a manner diametrically opposed to the description of the War of Armageddon. After the end of World War II, many countries became communist. Therefore, it can be said that this war played a decisive role in making one-third of the world a communist country. However, World War II is not the War of Armageddon. The War of Armageddon is a war in which the world attacks a single nation. What is clear is that this war is also closely related to Babylon and occurred during the Babylonian Empire's existence. If Babylon is the Soviet Union, we must look for it in the history related to the Soviet Union. Revelation chapter 16 presents a scene from the unfolding history of the seven angels, pouring out their seven bowls on the earth. The sixth of the seven angels begins by gathering the kings to Armageddon as he pours out his bowl. And when the seventh angel pours out his bowl, Babylon falls. Considering the progression of history depicted in the text, the War of Armageddon appears to have occurred during the existence of Babylon. If so, we need to find a war during the Soviet Union's existence in which several countries attacked a specific country. That war is the Korean War. While all eyes of those interpreting the Bible were turned to Palestine, the real history unfolded in the Korean Peninsula in Far East Asia. The UN is an international organization, established immediately after World War II, for the purpose of maintaining international peace and security. The Korean War was the war in which the United Nations forces directly participated in the name of the UN. On the dawn of Sunday, June 25, 1950, the North Korean army invaded the South. Consequently, on July 7, the UN forces were established by a UN Security Council resolution, and General MacArthur was appointed as their commander. We referred to Kim Sung-woo's History of the Korean War. A total of 16 countries directly dispatched troops to the Korean Peninsula. This war was waged under the resolution of the UN, the sole UN organization at the time, and thus can be considered a war decided by the United Nations. The UN forces entered the war to support South Korea. Conversely, with the entry of the Chinese army into the war, the Communist bloc supported North Korea. After World War II, the world was divided into two camps, the Communist bloc and the Free bloc. These two factions converged on the Korean Peninsula, supporting either South or North Korea, and waged war. The UN forces attacked North Korea, and the Communist bloc attacked South Korea. As a result, it appears that virtually the entire world is attacking the Korean Peninsula. This is evident in the 16 countries that participated in the war under the UN's leadership. These included the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Thailand, France, Australia, Turkey, Greece, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Ethiopia, Colombia, the Philippines, South Africa, Belgium, and Luxembourg. Furthermore, Denmark, Norway, Italy, India, and Sweden sent medical support teams. The participating nations represented a diverse range of countries from every continent. UN forces supported South Korea and attacked North Korea. And the Communist bloc attacked South Korea. In the end, the whole world attacked the Korean Peninsula. As a result of the war, the South Korean and UN forces suffered approximately 178,000 killed, 555,000 wounded, and approximately 42,000 missing or captured. The North Korean and Chinese forces are estimated to have suffered approximately 660,000 killed, 800,000 wounded, and 130,000 missing or captured. Furthermore, civilian casualties in both Koreas amounted to approximately 2,490,000. Refugees 3,200,000, war widows 300,000, and war orphans 100,000. We referred to Kim Sung-woo's History of the Korean War. The Korean War devastated the entire Korean peninsula. Despite the numerous casualties, orphans, and 10 million separated families, neither side achieved victory, and a ceasefire was signed. On that day, I will seek to destroy the foreign nations that come against Jerusalem. Zechariah chapter 12 verse 9. The UN forces that attacked North Korea failed to win, and the communist forces that attacked South Korea failed to achieve victory. In the end, the entire world attacked the Korean Peninsula, but neither side achieved victory. The attacks on the Korean Peninsula were unsuccessful, and a ceasefire was signed, resulting in the formation of the Demilitarized Zone, a vast, impassable valley. At that time, the Lord will go out and fight against those foreign nations as in the day of battle. The Mount of Olives will split in its middle from east to west, creating a very large valley. Half of the mountain will move toward the north, and half of it will move toward the south. You will flee to the valley of the mountains, as you fled from the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. Zechariah chapter 14 verses 3-5. After World War II, Germany, a war criminal nation, was divided into East and West. On the other hand, the Korean Peninsula, which was a Japanese colony, was divided into South and North. At that time, the evacuation incident will occur. This prophecy is mentioned again in the Gospels. Let's look at Matthew chapter 24. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of his house. Let no one in the field turn back to take his cloak. Woe to those who are pregnant and nursing babies in those days. Pray that your flight from war will not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor will occur again. Matthew chapter 24 verses 15-21. Pray that your flight from war will not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. This statement strongly suggests that the war will occur in winter or on the Sabbath. The day the Korean War broke out, June 25, 1950, was Sunday, the very day Korean churches observe as the Sabbath. At this time, unprepared South Koreans fled en masse to the south. Following General MacArthur's Incheon landing operation, they advanced to the mouth of the Yalu River. That winter, the second evacuation occurred, due to the intervention of the Chinese army. The time of evacuation, the so-called 1-4 retreat, was during the cold winter on the Korean Peninsula. Earthquake refers to the division of the Korean Peninsula into North and South. The Big Valley refers to the situation where South and North Korea are divided. This refers to a situation where the military demarcation line is blocked by a barbed wire fence, making it impossible for people to pass through. The day of escape refers to the first flight on the Sabbath day of June 25, 1950, when the war first broke out. And after recapturing Seoul, the Koreans advanced northward, but were interrupted by the intervention of the Chinese Communist Army. It is a historical fact that on January 4, 1950, in winter, there was a second evacuation to escape the war. The text's description and historical context are precisely aligned. The word Armageddon appears in Revelation chapter 16 verse 16. The word Armageddon refers to Mount Megiddo or the hill of Megiddo. Zechariah chapter 12 verse 11 describes the mourning in the valley of Megiddo. This passage describes a war in which a coalition of nations from around the world attacks a single nation, Israel. Therefore, looking for a war in which a world coalition attacks a country is a shortcut to getting closer to the reality of the War of Armageddon. It is the Korean War. In the next lecture, we will learn about Chapter 7, Section 6, a terrible war and the influx of gold, silver, and clothing. It was the Bible History School. If you subscribe and set up notifications, you can continue listening to the lectures on Revelation and world history.